Hi, I'm Joel Dixon, co-founder, principal with Urban Oasis Development, a residential and commercial real estate developer based in Atlanta, Georgia.
Hello everybody, I am Wale with Urban Oasis Development. Right now we are here in the courtyard of one of our beautifully designed three-palm projects.
One of our latest projects, which happens to be in the Atlanta neighborhood of Carver Hills. Really excited to dive deeper into what this courtyard is about and why we're excited about this portion of the project in particular.
Let's get into the details. The vision goes back to 1960s. So let me go back. Actually, before the 1960s, mid-century modern design actually started to take place. And we got a lot of inspiration from that. There's a developer in Northern California by the name of Joseph Eichler who designed a number of mid-century moderns. He probably designed more mid-century moderns or built more mid-century moderns than any other developer out there. Mid-century moderns were typically one of those things that the wealthy could afford because you had these nicely, uniquely designed houses. He was one of the first ones to build it for the masses, right? And he built these beautifully designed houses that just, again, the enhanced lifestyle. There are different things he actually did. For instance, he was one of the first developers to actually have an inclusionary aspect of it where race was an issue in terms of buying houses. When back in the 50s and 60s, only white buyers could buy houses. So at our company too, we feel like we're visionaries in the same place. A lot of the same things that he believed in, we actually believed in too as well. So it became just one of those things where it's kind of like kindred spirits of different time frames, right? And so as we were designing houses, even before we saw the Eichlers, we thought that we wanted to have houses that, again, enhance one's lifestyle, that were like pieces of art when you looked at them. And the new part that wasn't there in the 60s was the fact that we're going through a climate crisis right now. How do we design houses that are actually going to be better for the environment? Houses that we thought if we actually built them a certain way, that they could actually be better for the environment than actually be detrimental to the environment.
So the vision for the courtyard space in this project really was to amplify something that's called biophilism. This is really based on how nature and the built environment intersect and weave seamlessly together. What you have in the courtyard is, of course, a house that is the indoor, let's call it living space, but from a human and livability perspective, you also have this courtyard that is connected directly in your interior living space, such that you feel like nature is directly inside, but also even when you're inside, you feel like you're connected to nature. That's what the vision for the courtyard is really enabling, and it's the reason why, me personally, it's one of my favorite aspects of this particular project.
So the design process was very unique. I actually started out hand sketching designs of what I thought were important. I've taken cues from a lot of different things, from cars to watch designers, where they've had design philosophies. And for us, we had certain design philosophies we wanted to incorporate. And one of the biggest things was that we wanted to have blur the lines between the indoor and outdoor space. And we wanted to do that in a unique way whereby when you were living, you felt like you could, again, be inside, you could be outside. It takes huge benefit of the climate we have down here in the Southeast. So initially started out with some general designs, looked at some old designs of mid-century modern houses. And then we partnered with a very prominent architect down here in Atlanta, Georgia, ex-metrical design, Jordash Avery. And he actually had a member of his team who lived in Eichler, Joel, in Northern California. And coming together just as kindred spirits, we were able to figure out a design that we thought could work for this and could work in Atlanta, which typically actually has narrow lots rather than wider lots. So picked the design something that was very unique in the shape and design of what it is.
The design process for the courtyard really starts from the standpoint of, one, the basis of the kind of mid-century modern design on which this project was based. Joseph Eichler, who kind of led the charge with this type of housing, really felt that courtyards were a great mechanism to enable, connectedness inside, connectedness outside. I will say that for this particular project, we really wanted to emphasize the fact that we're taking his principles, right, but we're also putting a twist on it. And so the way in which we have envisioned the courtyard isn't exactly like his, but it has similar elements. And so those elements include the fact that it's a large enough space for gathering. It includes elements of the fact that there are large windows surrounding it, such that you can look inside, look outside, and the fact that unlike a lot of, we could call them patios, right, that are just complete asphalt. We really took the time to think about this from a much more nature-friendly perspective, using more of the tiles, the slate chips, and so it just makes you feel like you're not just on a concrete slab.
Making this unique and different than the houses that we typically have here in the Southeast, where you just have a deck and or a front porch as your outdoor gathering space. This was a unique gathering space, but it also became an artistic canvas to other parts of the house. When you're walking through the hallway and you're seeing the outdoors, when you're in the living room, you see the outdoors. It acts as a backdrop, a beautiful backdrop that you can create this oasis in within your own house.
Urban Oasis Development has always had community at its DNA. What we like to say is all of our projects are not a commodity, it's all about community. And so when we were thinking about this particular unique design, such as this mid-century modern design, we really wanted to situate it in a space and a place that fit, right? You can imagine a situation, probably many of you have been, where you have these what we might consider McMansions, right? We're in the middle of something that has like single family, ranch style housing, all of a sudden there's this huge, gigantic thing. We didn't want to stand out like a sore thumb. The actual neighborhood that we placed this project in, Carver Hills, actually historically has mid-century designs. It was a neighborhood that was built in 1957. Therefore, the housing types were built right in the middle of the last century. When you go through the neighborhood, we saw similar designs. Once again, not as high styled as Joseph Eichler's product in California, but nevertheless still very similar in terms of the outward appearance. And so we felt, as we were doing a take on that design, that it would fit nicely. Yes, it's newer, yes, it's a little bit higher design, but it still doesn't tower over our adjacent neighbors. And so we were very intentional about picking a neighborhood and a community that really picked this design type, and we're excited that Carver Hills is the one.
Yeah, typically from a building standpoint, when you're building a house, the easiest thing to do is make sure you build either a square house or rectangular house, because you want to make sure you have as little corners as possible. And with our philosophy, we wanted to make sure we had a courtyard in the middle of the house. So that made it very difficult to figure out how we put that in there. And it made it a bit more, it's just more difficult by the fact that we had to actually design this in the middle of the house and make sure that we had the elevations right, the drainage was right, all the things that come with that. The lighting was right. Even bigger picture, we wanted to make sure that in one sense, we could make a small courtyard where you could at least have a tree and some lighting so you felt like you had the outdoors there. In our case in particular, we actually wanted to have a space that was a livable space, because when we say we blur the lines, we wanted you to be able to say, I can sit outside and enjoy the space outside, and I can sit inside and enjoy the space inside, but I can see both sides and I can enjoy both places. So that's the concept we wanted to have. So in building that, we had to design certain things, even from when we were designing the siding, to making sure that the outlets were in a certain way, to making sure vents weren't flying in a certain way, and then actually building some accent pieces as we were building that. So for instance, although we want the sky to be open, in this case, we actually wanted beams to be there because we wanted to feel like it was actually connected to the interior in some form or fashion versus just being completely separate from the interior. And so that's how it comes all together. And I think you can sense it when you sit in the courtyard. You feel like it's part of the house and not just an add-on or just some superficial thing that's just a superficial feature to the house. It feels like it's actually pretty integral to the house. It was an added cost. I mean, we had to have more sliding glass doors and more glass, because even from the inside, again, we wanted you to be able to see the courtyard from different angles, so that it was actually a backdrop and a canvas to the rest of the house. And again, when we say livable art isn't just the architecture itself. Livable art is the fact that nature is actually a picture by itself as well too, and the windows are those frames to that nature that you're seeing almost every single day. And the great thing about the livable art is it's moving and changing every single day. You see the clouds change one direction, you see birds, trees, plants. And the great side with the courtyard is it can actually almost be, in a sense, this is a canvas. You can kind of create your own backdrop to what you want to see every time you look outside the windows. The lighting, the landscape, the texture, all those things add into creating the ambiance, the differentiating ambiance that you can have within your courtyard that's differentiating your house from the next house, up at Three Palms house or Urban Oasis house.
As with anything, you hope that whatever you create once really does have the type of effect where it can be utilized across different contexts and different opportunities and different projects. I really think that the courtyard is going to be one of those aspects that will always be included. In many ways, this courtyard is similar to porches when you think of craftsman style houses. The craftsman style house and the large porches that everybody tends to love enabled gathering spaces that were once again outside of the physical space of the house, but allowed for connection, communication, community, and even fun, right? Well, we see this courtyard as the exact replica. This is the porch of this type of design, and it enables the same type of interconnectedness, interaction, and so we think that it really will apply across so many different other projects as well as other areas.
Here at Urban Oasis, our plan is to bring this philosophy, this lifestyle to the masses. We believe that everybody at every price point should be able to enjoy an enhanced lifestyle. So our thought is the idea of blurring the lines between indoor and outdoor, the inclusivity of things, the better standard of living in terms of better health, something that's great for the environment, that's actually beneficial for the environment, and the idea that design does not have to just be something that's for the ultra wealthy. This livable art, both from the exterior and the way the interior interacts with the exterior, is something that can be great for everybody. I picture us as canvas makers. We're creating a great canvas for you to live your best life in your house. And that's through this place like this courtyard and how the indoor and outdoor plays with this house. Thank you for watching.
You can learn more at urbanoasisdevelopment.com or on our social media at Urban Oasis DEV.
And make sure to like and subscribe to the video for more content and behind the scenes of Urban Oasis Development.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey and learning more about our vision. But we really love to learn more about yours. Thank you. Shalom.